What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time we upload a brand new video. Now, this video is going to be segment 1 of a new Trust the Bank podcast episode. So the goal, typically last week we were unable to do it, but have a recap episode / preview episode every single week between the week and the middle of the week. I think tonight is Wednesday night. I think it's a great time to do it, because not a lot's going on, with the Ravens right now. We'll obviously talk about all the news and such, but, to start off, we're going to be giving our key takeaways coming out of the Ravens victory over the Arizona Cardinals in week 2 of the preseason. Then we're going to start getting into, a couple of the big name players for the Ravens. They're going to be out to start the season. Gus Edwards, Travis Jones. How are the Ravens going to manage those situations? Replace the production of Gus Edwards and maybe make up for the loss of Travis Jones because he was looking so good in camp. And then finally, the final segment is going to be coming out on Saturday, and it's going to be coming out in the morning, and it's going to be talking about the best positional battles to watch because the Ravens' final preseason game is this Saturday at 7 p.m. So if you're watching this segment, on Wednesday night and you guys want to listen to all of it, go check out the Spotify, go check out the Apple Podcast. And if you're listening on the podcast platforms, welcome. I think you're in for a really good show. But to start off, Joshua and I each have a key takeaway that we're going to bring to the table. I'm going to start off. I'm going to say my key takeaway is that the Baltimore Ravens passing game is not weak. Okay, because this is something that I see over and over and over again. Now, the play calling, maybe it can be considered weak, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the weapons that the Baltimore Ravens have assembled around Lamar Jackson. They are looked at by the national media as, look at who Lamar's throwing to. He's throwing to absolute scrubs. And I think that needs to stop. I think the Baltimore Ravens have seen I don't think it was very expected. Looking at this roster coming into even training camp, it was like, okay, they definitely still need to improve it. But with the emergence of Isaiah Likely, it's indescribable how good he's been. Like the way that he's just come in and is just like, yes, I'm a dominant force in the NFL as a 4th round rookie draft pick. He is going to be, potentially that 3rd or 4th pass catcher. He was lining up in the slot consistently in that game against the Cardinals. He got his touchdown out of the slot, and it's something where it's like, okay, that is a smart pass catcher that the Ravens have that is explosive. It can, break tackles. He leads the NFL in preseason missed tackles as a tight end. And he's just throwing bodies everywhere. And then obviously we have Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman, maybe the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL because he is filthy at getting open. He was playing with Tyler Huntley last year, and he was playing with just a really weak Ravens offense. When he plays with Lamar Jackson, he's going to be very special. Like, he is going to be a consistent 7 receptions, 75, 85, 90 yards. Very similar to a player that, we compared him to when he got drafted out of the Ravens, Mr. Keenan Allen, where it's just like the dude gets open, he makes catches, and, he'll get touchdowns, and he will be a chain mover. And then finally, in the passing game, the final kind of aspect, checking it down to the running backs. That was something that we did not have last year. That's something Lamar Jackson likes to do. J.K. Dobbins, all we heard, we haven't heard a lot about J.K. Dobbins this year and what he's been working on because he's been working on the rehab. But remember last offseason? All that was talked about was J.K. Dobbins is fixing his hands. He is going to be a massive part of this passing game. Like, he is ready. Because at Ohio State, that was something that he brought to the table. And he had some drops for the Ravens. I believe he had a drop or maybe even 2 drops in the playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. I believe one was on a 3rd down situation rolling out to the left, kind of one that he definitely should have caught, ended up dropping it. And he was like, that's not a mistake I can afford to make again. And he really worked on it. So he should be really good in the passing game. We have Justice Hill, who looks much improved. We have Mike Davis, who can absolutely, everything about this offense is looking so much better than what it was. And people are still looking at this passing game and the passing scheme, and it's like, yeah, this is horrible. The 3 tight ends, Nick Boyle just returned to practice today, I believe. The 3 tight ends and Greg Roman, that works. The Ravens didn't have 3 tight ends last year. They had Patrick Ricard and, Josh Oliver and, and I love Josh Oliver and Mark Andrews. And it was like, okay, Patrick Ricard is not a tight end. that is not the case whatsoever. But Joshua, what are your thoughts on kind of this passing game as a whole? Is this just like maybe the most slept on unit in the NFL?
I mean, you know what? As a fan that understands there have been so many different wide receivers that were free agents and that we did not pick them up, I do understand why Ravens flock and the TTB gang will probably be upset. We have always wanted the big names. We missed out on the Allen Robinsons. I know we wanted to make people have made the conversation of making a trade for Michael Thomas to bring here to Baltimore. But the thing is, those big name heavy catching type of wide receivers, they're not going to come to a big, heavy, run-oriented type of offense. So what's the next best thing? The next best thing is go reach out, get a better wide receiver coach, get a better passing coordinating coach, and that's what exactly they did. Now they got this young core wide receivers. Yes, we let go Hollywood Brown go. That maybe was the best wide receiver out of our group. But then we have a young gun that's going to be his sophomore season. I'm gonna knock on wood that he's going to be healthy throughout the season. That's going to be the next Keenan Allen, maybe Devontae Parker. The young man does have great speed when he gets the ball, and also he knows how to get open and fill those spaces in those coverages. And yes, I'm talking about Rashad Bateman, you all. And another wide receiver we've been had in the castle that's been constantly slept on, but always, makes himself available. And then on top of that, when he makes himself available, he's not available the next game as a healthy scratch, is James Prochet, who will be wide receiver number 2. Now, when you add, someone that came from the University of Minnesota and another young man that come from SMU, between them, I feel like, yes, they're gonna have that they're gonna have drops, they're gonna mess up. That's because they're human. But once they get their groove and once they're, out there working, I feel like the sky's the limit. On top of that, we have the best catching tight end in the league in Mark Andrews. And now you add a 4th rounder that can also line up in the slot, like you said, McConnell, and make linebackers miss, give safeties a problem. He has a great catch radius, and he knows how to bring the ball in and fight for possession and also make things happen after he makes a catch. As much as I do not like Gregory Roman when it comes to the passing game, but like you said, when it comes to having three tight ends, you're going to have Nick Bull back. You got Mark Andrews. Now you can put in a Swiss Army knife like Isaiah Likely, and even when you get Charlie Kolar back, you never know. Sky's the limit. Then the running back room is overpopulated and overcrowded. We have Mike Davis, Tyler Beatty, and then when you got J.K. coming back, it's going to be a world of fun. Even Justice Hill is learning to run north and south. So I mean, granted, it took about 5-6 years for him to do it, but hey, he's doing it. So when I look at things like that, I would take this passing group over my 2019 group in a heartbeat. And the reason I keep on bringing up that 2019 wide receiver core, because even though that was not the best one, we had a strong presence with our tight ends. When the wide receivers did come alive, they came alive, and we rolled it all the way to the playoffs. I do feel like they're trying to build this offense the same way they did in 2019 in order for us to get back to the playoffs. But now you add a little bit more of polish to the passing game with a better group of pass catchers that maybe can take us all the way to the promised land. So I'll take this group. These guys are unproven, and the best thing about it, these guys love it. They know they're not the big names. They know they got a chip on their shoulder. They know that everybody going to probably feel like, oh, we're smoking on Rashad Bateman pack. We're smoking on Mark Andrews pack, James Prochet, Isaiah Likely. They're not going to get the ball pass. They're not going to throw they're not going to throw the deep ball. Just watch when the regular season starts. We got the Jets in week 1. I mean, granted, we playing against, Joe Cool, but even Joe Cool and the Jets are not going to have enough field to stop us.
Yeah, and this Ravens offense, for them to be really good, this doesn't have to be, a Buffalo Bills type of passing offense, a Kansas City Chiefs, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lamar doesn't need to throw for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns. They need to throw for 3,700 yards, 3,500 yards, and 30, 35 touchdowns. Because that's about what Lamar Jackson did in his MVP year. And something that I forgot to even mention, they're going to have time in the pocket. We had no time in the pocket last year when Lamar Jackson was playing because the offensive line, no longer is it Mr. Alejandro Villanueva.
Bye-bye.
No longer is it. I can't even remember who filled in for Patrick McCarry after he got injured. It was just kind of a consistent turnover at the tackle position and the offensive line spots. All of a sudden, now it's like, okay, we got Morgan Moses, who is a consistent. He is healthy, he is playing, and he is good. Ronnie Stanley, who, when healthy, obviously we may not have him week 1, but, if we have him week 2, week 3, week 4, whenever he's able to come back, he's going to be much improved, even if he's half the player that he was prior to injury. And everything looks like he should still be able to play really solid offensive tackle in the NFL. And then, the center problem that we had, we drafted Tyler Linderbaum, who was able to return to practice. So, overall, this passing offense is going to be very different. It's going to have time in the pocket. We're watching in the preseason game, Tyler Huntley's scrambling everywhere because the backup offensive tackles are not very good. Shout out to Mr. Jawan James, Ravens legend. But overall, this passing offense is going to be elite. And it's going to be efficient. It's going to be deadly, especially, when they get into the red zone. That is when the passing offense needs to be really good because, teams are going to stack the box, try and stop the run. Don't let them pound it in. What do you do in the red zone? Oh, you bring in more tight ends and you have big bodies. So the Ravens have Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, and Nick Boyle. And then their big body wide receivers are Demarcus Robinson, who's one of the best run blocking wide receivers in the NFL, and Rashad Bateman, who can get open as well as almost anybody else in the NFL. I mean, this is going to be a touchdown scoring offense, and many could start looking at it as a passing team that is just elite running the football.
I like that take. I mean, honestly, where Lamar wants to go in his career as a QB, it only goes as far. It goes as far as this wide receiver group. So they're on the same page. I love it. They're all hungry. So I like that.